What's going on, everybody? Jason Guyman here with Christmas Lights, and tonight we're going to learn and you're going to look and listen and see how you will be able to get your average ticket up. Rather you're doing Christmas lights, what I'll be talking most about, but if you're doing pressure wash, this works for this industry too. It also works for anybody that is really doing the service industry at the end of the day. So this past weekend, I know I wasn't on my live this weekend, and that was because I was at a Michael Burnoff event. I was at Core Live. It was an amazing weekend. If you ever get the opportunity to go, I would highly recommend you to be able to go and learn how to grow your mind and learn about yourself. And so this has kind of got me on the path of how to be able to get higher average tickets, right? This past Monday night at my Monday night marketing Zoom call, there was a couple guys on there that have a lot of self-limiting beliefs that they don't believe that you can get this ticket or in my area. And what I will say to this is they're right. Unfortunately, if you tell yourself that you can't get something or you can't do something in your area, your mind will believe it, and that is truth. And so that's what I want to hit on tonight. That's what I want to go deeper on. How that you will be able to get higher average tickets. Again, pressure washing Christmas lights. I don't care what your business is. I'm going to talk about your ways that you will be able to do this. And so that way you will be able to learn and grow and have a more successful business at the end of it. So with that, again, I just got back from DJ and I. We went to Phoenix, Arizona. I flew out to Phoenix on when was it? Wednesday or Thursday. The class started on Thursday. It was very intense. It was a very intense 3 days, 40 hours within 3 days. And so I learned a lot. I've learned a lot about persuasion. I learned a lot about words that you use. I learned a lot about myself. And so that's what I did this weekend. Also this weekend, my wife went a different place. I didn't get to see my girls play soccer, my daughter play soccer, which kind of stinks, but it was a really good weekend for me to learn and grow, to be able to help you guys be able to get what you want. Because that's my goal. How can I help you guys grow your business? How can I help you do better? And that is my whole goal at the end of the day. So other than that, this weekend was a great weekend. I highly recommend, if you ever get a chance to go to Core, it is definitely a great weekend that you can do. So my book of the week, I haven't done one in a while. My book of the week is a really good book. I highly recommend this book. This is the book I'm going to recommend. Choose Your Enemies Wisely. This is a great book. I've read it probably 5 or 6 times because we were doing a thing where we were going through this book. And so I was reading it, listening to it, reading it, listening to it. And so this book here is a great book. It will help you start thinking about how to grow your business and the things that you need to do. I highly, highly recommend this book. If you have not read this book, if you have read this book, I would say go ahead and read it again, because this is really a great book. It's a book that will help you with your mindset, with how to grow a business. So that's my book of the week. I don't know if anybody's on here yet. I know people are on here, but I haven't seen no comments come across here. So if you got any comments, if you got any questions, don't hesitate to ask questions. The only way that you learn is by asking. And if you've got pressure washing Christmas lights, I don't care, marketing, whatever your question might be, to be able to grow this. So as you listen in tonight and as you're watching this, I'm going to give you information that is going to help you grow your business. This is something that you're going to have to take action on, and it is something that you're going to have to change the way you think a little bit. And so one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is this past Monday night, we were on our Monday night Zoom call, and there was two guys there, and one of them really hit home with me. One of the guys there was a guy that before I started my pressure washing business, I used to work on fire trucks. I worked on fire trucks for since 2003, and I worked on fire trucks up until about 2013, 14. I actually did it a little bit while I was pressure washing, started the business. And so in about 2010, 2011, I met a guy down in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky, in Carlisle, Kentucky, in Nicholas County. And one of the guys down there, Nathan, is a guy that has lived there his whole life. And it's a place that there's not a lot of money to be made down in that area. A lot of people that live in that area either don't make a lot of money, or they're traveling and working in Lexington, Georgetown, Cincinnati, which is about an hour away from them, hour to an hour and a half away. And so I met him back then, and he was a captain on the volunteer fire department. I was working on their equipment. I used to work on their equipment all the time. And that's how he met me. And so fast forward, I started my business in 2012, and I started doing Christmas lights in 2014, and I started growing my business. And by 2018, I'd hit $1 million on my business. And so I had to have a mindset shift to be able to hit those numbers. And, I talk about myself. I went from a fireman that was making $49,000 a year. That was my high three. It was $49,000 a year as a full-time firefighter. In 2020 is when I ended up quitting there, or early retirement. So I was making $49,000 a year. So that's not a lot. And I also had my pressure washing business going. And I ran my pressure washing business all the way through 2018, 2019. I started doing YouTube videos and making money online. And then that's how I was been able to grow my personal business, is through that. But what I want to get at here is my wife actually quit and went to be a full-time mom in 2014 when we had my youngest daughter. And so she's going to be 11 here in May. And that is when she quit her full-time job at Toyota. So yes, we went from $49,000 a year down to my salary of just 40. Or she was making about $45,000 at Toyota, $50,000 at Toyota, and I was making $49,000. And so that is how we were able to get by. We were broke, we were in debt, and at this time, I really didn't know nobody either that made a lot of money, not personally. I knew some people at church that did pretty well, but I never understood how these people made this kind of money, and I did some mission work. We went on mission trips, and on these mission trips, things would happen that I would just be like, how does that happen? Like, who has the money to pay for all of these supplies that we're building this house with down here, or whatever we were building? It was a little church. And so I always wondered how it was. I barely was able to pay to get there. And then how does all this happen? And so that's when I started my pressure washing business. And I have to give it a little bit to Michael Kreisley. Michael Kreisley is one that he had first pressure washing, and he was really the one that was one of the first people on YouTube that I knew that had grown his business, that was doing $250,000, $300,000 a year and making really good money. And so that's when I started my pressure washing business, to be able to start seeing that. And then what I finally had to do, and I even have to do it now, right? Because there will become a time that you need to level up. And when you level up, a lot of times you're going to lose some friends when you level up. I've actually had this conversation with a couple more friends that just hit their $1 million, right? And you kind of are in a lonely place at this point. And so it's important that you get around people that are successful, because going back to Nathan here down in Kentucky, You know, he grew up and $100,000 ain't even in his mind. Like a person, and that's what I asked him. I was like, I knew one guy, the chief down there, made over 100 grand a year. But I'm like, do you know anybody else that makes 100 grand a year? And he's like, I don't. And so when you have a mindset and you have a thing of you don't know nobody, you don't know how they act, you don't know what they do, you don't know what they say, how they say the things that they say, it's really hard to be able to say, hey, I want to do this because of this. And so this is why it is important that you go do things. And here's the thing, right? This weekend, a lot of people will say, well, Jason, I don't have the funds. It's not worth my time. I'm not going to do those things. And what you will find out is it actually costs you more not to be in those rooms versus what it costs you to get into those rooms. You know, my good friend Paul Gardner, he does 12, 15 $million in business and sign business and other businesses that he has. He may be doing more than that, but the last I know, that's what he was doing. And, you know, he was paying, I think he paid about $100,000 to $150,000 last year to be in a room around billionaires. Because guess what? They think different, they act different, they look different. And that's the thing that I want to hit on is one of the first things to be able to hit $1,500 average tickets or $1,000 average tickets is you have to think different. You have to have a mindset shift. And if you just think that, oh, Jason, you just don't understand, Jason. It's just one of those things that, Jason, you just don't get it. You know, in my area, nobody's going to pay that. Soon as you say those words, your brain believes it. It's done. It's in there. And instead of saying, in the past, this is my belief, right? But when you say nobody, you're literally telling your brain that nobody will do it. Or, Jason, in my market, you just don't understand. Everybody's only selling it for $4 to $6 a foot in my market. Well, who is everybody in your market? Have you actually seen everybody? Have you actually asked everybody in your market? Or are you assuming that you have asked everyone? Because there's a difference, right? There's a difference between you assume that you called 5 people and one person answered their phone. And when that one person answered the phone, that's the price you're going off of. But yet you will tell me that everybody will get that. And then here's the other thing is they'll say, Jason, I tried raising my prices and nobody bid. Well, did you try one person? Did you try 5 people? Did you try 10 people? Did you try 20 people? Because if you've only tried 2 or 3 people and you got no's, well, you're right on track. You're right on track where you should be at. Because usually with Christmas lights, you're going to be about 15 to 20%. So that means you got to ask 10 people to get 2 yeses. But Jason, you just don't get it. You can't get it in my area. You're right. You're 100% right. You'll never get it in your area because that's what you believe. And even if we're talking pressure washing, it's the same thing. If you don't think you can get $1,000 average tickets, you're right. You're right 100%. And so a lot of times we have some mindset barriers, right? We have imposter syndrome. We fear that we're not going to be good enough. Well, Jason, I'm just not good enough. I don't know how to speak. I haven't figured out what I need to do. And this is why it's important that we understand and how do we value ourselves. Well, by you answering your phone is value. They've done called 4 other people and nobody answered their phone. So how much more value do you need that you were the only one answered the phone and the other 4 people they called never answered their phone? How much more value do you need that, hey, I gave them a quote within 30 minutes? The other four people never gave them a quote. So this is how you're building value, and this is how you're building that you are good enough. You know, sometimes people are like, Jason, I just don't know what to do. Figure it out. There's a lot of things I don't know what to do. When I started Christmas lights, I didn't know what I was doing. When I started pressure washing, I didn't know what I was doing. I literally, the house that I'm selling right now, my little rental house. So I bought a rental house when I was 21 years old. I'd saved up. I was working as a mechanic. When I got that job, I was working as a mechanic for F&M handling. We built cranes, and we did cranes. And so I was a traveling mechanic. I was actually in Florida for almost 6 months. And so I was able to save up a bunch of money because they were paying all my meals with per diem, and we were working 14-hour days, because what else do you do when you're out of town? You might as well get paid if you're going to be out of town. So I had saved up quite a bit of money. And so I was able to buy my first house when I was 21 years old. And so I lived in that house for 2 years, and I've rented it out ever since. And it's been paid off. And that's the house that, if you following me on Facebook, you've probably seen my little rental house that I have that we just went under contract with. And so what I'm getting at is, you have to change your mindset in the way that you think and the way that you believe. Because here's the deal. If you don't believe you can get it, you're right. You never will. And so the next thing is quit projecting your concerns about how much you would pay. I hear all the time, Jason, how many times have you sent out a quote and you've got butterflies in your stomach and you're just all nervous because you look down at that quote and you're like, oh my God, $10,000? There's no way they'll pay that. And you'll have that in your mind. Like, that'll be in the back of your mind. You'll be like, there is no way someone will pay $10,000 for Christmas lights. There's no way that someone would pay $10,000 for pressure washing. I need to cut my price. There's no way, right? And the number one thing I will tell you is when you find the customers that you want, and those are the customers that you want, they will write the check way faster than the person that pays $300. They will have less issues than the person that pays $300, because the person that pays $500, $700 for Christmas lights versus the person that pays 10 grand for Christmas lights, 2 grand for Christmas lights, are two completely different people, right? Because the person that only pays 500 or 1,000 for Christmas lights versus the one that's paying 2,000, 3,000, the person that paying 2,000, 3,000, they're probably making 6 figures plus. The person that's only paying 300 to 500, whatever you're charging, they're probably only making about $70,000 to $80,000 a year, if you're lucky. And so $300 is a lot of money, because if you think about it, if you're making $70,000 a year, you're only really bringing home $300 or $35,000, because Uncle Sam's going to take 50% of it. He's going to take 40 to 50% of that money, versus the person that making 150,000 is bringing home 75,000, right? 100,000, and he's bringing home more money. So $1,000, $2,000 job, percentage wise, is about the same at the end of the day. And so that's the difference in when you change how you believe and what you project. Because if you have that mindset cross your mind that I would never pay that much, it's going to show when you are talking. The words that you are going to use are going to hurt you, because you're thinking it, and you're going to pass that thinking on to them. And this is why it's very important about the words that we use. right? The words that we speak to ourselves, the words we speak to our customers, the words that we speak to our employees. The words that we speak to our employees is just as important as the words as we speak to our customers, right? If you have employees and you like, what are you done? Are you stupid? Well, you might as well just call yourself stupid because you didn't train them what they needed to do. And your mind doesn't know, are you calling them stupid? Or are you calling me stupid? So these are why it's important that we make sure that we understand what we need to do. So here's the myth of you can't get it in my area. Like I said when I started this, you call 5 people and you sit there and one person, 2 persons answers the phone and you're like, well, they're only charging $5 a foot, so I got to go in at $4.75 and I'm going to do a better job. And what you didn't realize is that customer is going out of business. That company's going out of business. And so this is why it is important that we make sure that we understand what we are looking at and when we do that. And so here's the thing. People that make money, they're looking for something else. They're not looking for Christmas lights. This is where a lot of people get in trouble, is because they look for Christmas lights and they're trying to sell the bulbs, they're trying to sell the track, they're trying to sell it that we hide everything, and they're trying to sell the peak in the bulb, right? We got to peak the bulb. You're not a professional if you don't peak the bulb. My God, you're not a professional if you don't peak the bulb. I want to just tell you something. That's not what Christmas lights is about. Christmas lights is about how they can save time. Christmas lights is a feeling. Christmas lights is emotional. And when you sell on emotions and you sell on feelings, you'll get $10, $14 a foot. And I know some of you are going to say, Jason, you can't get that in my area. And you're right. You're not going to get that in your area because you just said it and you believe it. And if you say it and you believe it, it's not going to happen. Now, I posted something earlier this week, and some guy's like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. I tried that before, and it doesn't work. Well, if you've tried it and it doesn't work, then you must not have believed it, right? You know, the whole premise behind this book here that I always push is Think and Grow Rich. And the reason why I tell you you should read this book 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 times is because it's mindset, right? It's the mindset behind it that is going to make you achieve way more than you not to achieve it. So that's why it is important that we understand how our clients are going to make the decisions. Now, how do rich people, how do affluents make decisions? Most of your people very rarely will make a decision off of price. They want convenience. They want easy. They want their time that they're saving. They want the status, who looks the best on the block. They want that memory, right? And so this is why when we're talking to them, this is why we will talk about their childhood memories. What is your childhood memory? What do you remember about Christmas lights? Tell me that story. Do you remember going over grandma's? Oh, yeah. And how many grandkids do you have? Oh, I have 5 grandkids. Do you want them to have that same experience coming over here to grandma's and they see all these lights and you just light up their face? You remember what your look like? I bet you can tell me detail by detail what you remember of seeing grandma and grandpa's house. Oh, yeah, it was great. They did this and right. And that's what we're selling on. We're building that relationship. We're selling on that. We don't give 2 rats about the LEDs and saving electricity. If they cared about saving electricity, they're spending $2,500 on Christmas lights. They don't care about the $15 worth of electricity it's going to cost. And if they do, they're probably not your customer, right? And so this is why it's important that we take the psychology of wealthy people and start thinking how wealthy people think so that we can start selling to wealthy people. And one thing I will tell you is sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zone. Maybe you need to treat yourself to something that wealthy people do so you can get the feeling of how it feels, right? And how they understand it and how they work and how they do it. Because they look at the holiday experience as an investment. They look at it as an investment into their kids and their grandkids. You're looking at it as of these are just C9 bulbs that we're going to put on somebody's house. And it's a completely different way that we need to do that. The next thing is how do we talk? What patterns do we use or we talk that we screw ourselves? That we basically say we can install versus when you decide on Wednesday or Thursday, we are going to come and hang these lights, right? That is the differences, right? You speak that as if you've already sold this job. You act like you've already sold this job. That's how you start speaking. If you start speaking and you start saying words that are negative, that are things that are going to keep people from buying, then that's the point that I'm trying to make is that's not going to help you out at the end. And that's not good. That's why we want to make sure that we are saying the words that we need to say so that way we can do it. What's your tone? Are you speaking fast? What's your pace? What's your delivery techniques? Do you use your hands? You know, one of the things that I learned this weekend is that only like 7% of what you say, the words, affect what you are actually doing, right? The tone is like 35%, and the rest of it is your body language. What's your body language saying to your customers? Is it saying, I don't want you? Or is it saying, you need these Christmas lights? Because that's why we can use our hands. We can use different things. And here's the thing. If you're nervous and you're like, I would never pay for that, and you got your hands in your pocket and you're fiddling and that tells that customer that you're not confident in what you're trying to do. And that's why it's important that you're confident. And you might have the words to say and selling off emotion, but your body language that is like, it's like something like 50%, 50 to 60% is your body language is telling them a completely different signal that only the 7 to 10% of your tone is coming out of, or your voice coming out of your mouth. And so that's how you got to start thinking differently and start working on it. You know, a lot of times people are like, well, Jason, I want to sell more lights. Okay. Have you taken any selling classes? Have you tried to learn how to sell better? Have you practiced in the mirror? Have you practiced on video? Have you videotaped yourself and your sales conversations and dump it into ChatGPT and have them tell you where you screwed up or where you did good? Have you done any of that? Do you talk to ChatGPT and just talk about, hey, let's walk through a sales thing and talk it out and see what it says to help you grow better and do better? Have you done it to your friend? Say, hey, I want to sell this to you. I want to walk through my presentation. Or are we just like, let's try this? And then you screw up. And then you're like, well, what Jason is saying doesn't work. Well, have you put in the skills that you need to make you better? That's the question. Have you learned how to do it better? You know, when I have my class with my in-person class, we do a lot of standing up and doing some sales talking. Because here's the thing. It's scary to sell, right? You can be scared to death to do it. Or in the past, you should say, I'm not very good at this. I'm going to learn how to do it better. And I'm going to get better. And so These are all things that we need to make sure that as we're doing this and as our body language tells us what is a premium to expect, are you clean shaved, right? Your body language, are you clean shaved? Do you have a nice polo shirt on? Do you have nice slacks on? Or do you look like a bum that is just looking like a bum that's going to go for $300 to $400? Those are all things that are going to help you close and get higher tickets. I know that sometimes we don't always believe it, and I know that sometimes we don't always think it, but I'm just letting you know that it does work, and it is something that you can do. And so after you do your tone and pace and your body language, are you presenting the price confidently? Are you confident that, hey, you know what? We can get all of this house making it look like amazing. It's going to look so great, and only for $3,954, we can have it done for you on Wednesday. Does that sound good to you? And then you shut up and don't say another word, because as soon as you open your mouth, you've done lost it. Because you're going to say, well, I can take this off, or I can take that off, or we can do it for 10% off, or we can do it. And then as soon as you did that, your confidence went out the door. Are you confident? Are you confident in the service you're doing? Are you confident in the pricing you're giving? Are you confident? That's the question. Are you confident? I would say put it in the comments, but for some reason, all I'm getting is some thumbs up. So I don't know if nobody's commenting yet or not. If you are commenting, I'm not seeing any comments for today for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I have not seen a comment yet. I'm going to turn it off, turn it back on. Still no comments. So, are you confident? Are you talking and making high prices seem reasonable, right? Are you making it sound like they're crazy not to take it? Or are you like, this is a really high price here, and I don't know if you're going to like this price or not, but it's only $3,900. Do you want this or not? Because when you make it sound like that, it does. Or you could be like, you know what? You can get this as low as $4,999. I just changed the mindset, the way you think, the way you do, right? And that's what I'm trying to get at. How do you change your mindset? How do you do this? What do you do? So next, how do we use the phone call, right? A lot of times, and I've been guilty of this. How do we pre-qualify as a service, right? Instead of filtering them out, it's back to the words we use, right? We are giving them a service by pre-qualifying. We're not filtering them out because those are negative words that we're saying and believing. And it's back to the words that you tell yourself is going to make you great or just going to get you by. Wow, I finally got some questions here. I don't know how it came through, but I got two. Does asking about memories and emotions of Christmas lights translate to selling to commercial jobs? Yes, it can. And you can use it as one of the things they like is it can get you more money, right? It'll get more clients into the door. So, Kyle, I don't know if you're the first one to comment or the first comment that I've gotten through. It came through twice, and that's all I've been able to see. So being upfront shows respect. So when we're upfront saying, hey, we're just here to do Christmas lights. This is what we do. We install the lights. We make sure that you're happy. We keep you happy all year long. If anything does happen, we can come out and fix it for you within 24 hours. Our goal is to make sure that you're happy. And so this is something that we do to be upfront and say, our packages only start at only $955. Does that sound something that, are you ready to move ahead and get a better quote for it? Can I give you a better quote, right? Or can I give you an actual quote for your house? Or you can act like it's really expensive and they're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're charging that much, right? And so the word that we use is definitely something that we're going to do. How does the script change between in person and versus on the phone? That's what I'm going to hit on. So again, this is important that as we are doing this, you can ask, what is this event about? Tell me, you can use these same things, right? What are you looking for this? Oh, you know what? My grandkid, he's coming up here for Christmas and we got to get these Christmas lights done so that he can see them. It's his first Christmas. And then guess what? You just play off of that. Awesome. That is going to be so awesome. What's his name? Get his name, right? We're not just going to be like, that's going to be awesome when grandson sees grandma. No, we're going to say, when little Johnny comes here this weekend, he's going to see them Christmas lights. And that memory you had, Miss Jones, when you was a kid, man, can you imagine what he's going to tell his grandkids too? How grandma and grandpa did such an amazing job. This is how you can do that, right? And so we can do this all on the phone call. This is how we can handle resistance. If they are giving us resistance, you can say, oh man, little Johnny, he's probably going to be disappointed this year, right? That's how we can use that for our own advantage. We can use that so that way we can help them be able to respond to objections, because now we know what we know. And that's the whole purpose, is finding out the words that we need to help them get better. So next thing is, how do you position yourself? Do you position yourself as the expert, or do you just position yourself as the Joe Schmo, like all the other Joe Schmoes with lights on a truck, right? Do you position yourself as the expert online? Do you position yourself the expert on social media? One of the things I taught this past Monday night in my Monday night marketing call. So my Monday night marketing calls are supposed to be 15 minutes long of teaching about marketing. And it's been about an hour and a half of just talking. This past week, it was 45 minutes of Jason talking marketing. And it was still an hour of just the learning of each other's growing business. But what I talked about is how to set yourself up as the expert. How to set yourself up on LinkedIn showing that you're the expert. How to go into groups and show that you're the expert. How to go on to LinkedIn and write LinkedIn articles to show you that you are the expert in the industry. And you might say, Jason, I've never hung a Christmas lights. Well, guess what? I showed you how to research to get the best information to do it too, because that's what I do. I want to make sure that you're successful. I want to make sure that you are the expert. So when you show that you are the expert, that's what's going to happen. They know you know your stuff. And it's not the time to do it on the phone call to let them know you're the expert, because most of these people, unless you're doing a lot of yard signs, aren't looking you up. But if you're looking on your website, you're looking on LinkedIn, you're looking on different things, that's how they're going to find you. And that's how you can quickly build authority. That's how you can show that I'm not, you know what, you're right. The dude next door here, he don't know how to sell very good because he's only at $6 a foot and we're $10 a foot and we're getting it. And here's the deal. I'm going to use Daniel for Daniel, Paul Gardner. They're kind of in the same area. Not quite, but they're really close to each other in the area. They're charging $10 to $14 a foot for Christmas lights. And they have guys right now in their area selling for $5 and $6 a foot. And they are the same guys that would come to me and say, Jason, you just don't understand. You can't get that in my area. How do I know? Because I've heard them tell me that. And so when they tell me that, I'll be like, you know this guy named Paul Gardner that owns Elf Pros? Or do you know Red Door Christmas lights? Or do you know that guy that's got that crazy accent? That guy there, he's getting $10 to $14 a foot. And so that's what makes the difference of how you can establish authority and have that expertise, right? So this is something that you can link, painting the picture, right? Are you painting the picture of what this house is going to look like? And you can do it online and in person. And you can be like, man, look at this. We're going to paint the picture of what this house looks like. These are all things that we are going to do. The other thing is we're going to do packages. And that way packages will naturally upsell themselves. They just called for the roof line, but you know what? We did the roof line. We did the other roof line. We did the bushes. We did ground stake lighting. We did some garland for you guys that love doing gluing. We did around the windows and doors. And so we just took a $500 job and turned it into a $5,000 job. And you might say, Jason, there's no way and nobody in my area is going to pay $5,000. Well, here's what I will tell you. Yes, they will. I promise you they will. I really, truly, and promise you that they will pay $5,000. Don't be pushy in your sales. Appeal to emotions. Be confident and prepared. Exactly what I'm saying here. Right? It sells itself. Christmas, and I'm going to have some in-person trainings where Eric Beck's going to come and help me again do door knocking. And guess what? It literally sells itself. Christmas lights doing door knocking is the easiest thing that you can do to make that happen. So, what are you doing to get confident? What do you do before you go and answer that phone? What are you doing to build your confidence? One of the things that Eric teaches in the door knocking is they will come in an hour early before they go out and door knock. And they're getting pumped up. They're telling their success stories from the day before. They're finding out their objections that they got the day before. And they're learning from each other of, this is what it is. And they're listening to Christmas music and they're getting in the mood. And they're like, yes, we can knock down the walls. Yes, I can knock down that $10,000 wall. And so this is how you can build your confidence, right? Build your confidence. One thing that I learned this weekend is anchoring your confidence, right? If you ever get to go to CORE, I would highly recommend you to go to CORE. It's CORE Live by Michael Burnoff. He talks about this a lot, about anchoring on some place to your body that it feels good, that makes you have memories of when you were great, and that takes you back to that you're able to anchor yourself and touch that and start anchoring it. And at that point, you will start getting confidence right back to it if you're losing it. And so these are all things that we can do to do this. And we should be doing this daily, not weekly, not monthly, not ever, daily. We need to look at and build our confidence daily, because there's going to be things that are going to happen to you that you're going to tell me that, Jason, you just can't get it in my area. And I'm going to tell you, well, you are right. You're right 100%. And so I don't want to tell you that. I want to tell you that you can do this. You can do this. How do we do it in objections, right? How do we overcome these objections? Well, now you got ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT. Say, hey, you could even have it on your phone. Record the conversation on your phone. And then have ChatGPT say, how do I overcome these objections? What should I have said next time that would have been better, that I could have psychologically said this better? I could use this person's technique to say this better so that I don't screw this up next time, right? Because no is marketing research. Whenever we hear a no, then that could be marketing research. We can go say, all right, what do I need to do to get this no to a yes? And this is something that I really want you to look at and think about. And here's the other thing. Document your wins and testimonials. Go look at them. Alex Hermosi a couple months ago did a video. It's probably been almost 6 months or a year ago. And he did a video and he talked about how there was a guy that sold high-end pans, pots and pans. And he didn't even believe in his own product. He never had it. And so he bought it. And when he did, he loved it. And so that's what he did. And so then he believed, he was confident in his own product. when you look at your wins, another thing he said is when you go out to sell, you need to go read 8 to 10 of your 5-star reviews, because that is going to start getting your mind in the confidence that it needs, right? If you have to tell your mind that, hey, look, Miss Sue said Jason is amazing. He did amazing work. Jason has coached me to get to $1 million business. Jason has done this. Jason has went out there and did these Christmas lights. And when my grandkid came over, oh my God, it looked so hot. He cried and I cried and my daughter cried and we all were crying because how amazing they look, right? This is what you do. This is why you sit there and you look at your testimonies, you look at your wins, and you go back and you do that. So these are some things that you can do to get your confidence up. It is a mindset shift. If you think that you can't do $1,000 job, you don't think you can do a $1,500 job, you're right. And it's important that you know what you need to do. And the most important is changing your mindset. Practice this daily, not weekly, not monthly, not never. Practice it daily. When you wake up in the morning, and if you're like, man, I'm tired, you've done screwed your day for the whole day because you've already put negative thoughts in your brain. And so this is why it's important that we make sure that we understand what we need to do. And how do we talk to ourselves positive through the day? How do we change the words that we use? Because the words that you use are very powerful. And if you don't, and sometimes the words that we use that I might be talking to you, my brain doesn't know that I'm talking to you. So be positive to other people, be positive to your employees, be positive to your customers. And so this is very important that we have a daily mindset shift. And I get it. There's a lot of bad mindsets out there. First off is a poor mindset. In the past, I had a poor mindset. And, you heard me say in the past, because if you've heard me always say before, I grew up with a poor mindset. Well, if I say I grew up as a poor mindset, that means I never came out of a poor mindset. And that's not the case. I have come out of a poor mindset because in the past, I've had a poor mindset. And here's what a poor mindset will do. A poor mindset will tell you that that's expensive. I can't afford that. That, in the past when I grew up with my parents, we were very poor. We were on government money for a while. And nothing I can do about it. That was my past. But my future, I can look at what I can do, right? And so these are all important things that we need to look at. So the internal mindset is huge. It's a work in progress. It takes time. It's not easy. At this time, it cannot be. Sometimes it can't be easy, but you can get through it. The other mindset that I'll hit on is a religious mindset. And this is what I mean. I grew up in church and we were always taught those rich people are evil. That's what they said. Money is evil. Well, the love of money is evil. When I was talking about going on mission trips to Haiti and we're building these buildings there, it took money to buy that stuff. So somebody had to make money to be able to do that. And so these are all things that we need to look at and really make sure that we start changing the way we think, the way we start believing, because when you get around people that are successful, you will find out their vocabulary is a lot different. They don't use negative words. They don't use words that are negative or even possibly negative. They use words that are very positive and encouraging, and that is the difference between being around the poor mindset versus being around the wealthy mindset. And I want you to be successful. My goal is to make you successful. My goal is to help you, give you the tools that you need to grow a business. That's my whole goal. And I've helped thousands of people do this. I've helped thousands of people to do this. And you can do it too. But here's the thing. You are the one that's in control of it. I can help you, but in the end, you are the one that's got to take action. You know, we can talk about the mindset, but the next most important thing is the taking the action. Are you getting the quotes? Are you getting the quotes back out fast? Are you quoting everything? Are you doing the follow-up? Are you doing the calling them back and following them up? Are you texting and following them back up? Are you emailing and following them back up? Are you doing the things that you need to do to get your average ticket up to $2,000, $1,500? Are you charging enough? Are you doing packages? Are you just doing the front roof line? Are you doing the whole roof? Are you doing ground stake lighting? Are you doing the wreath? What are you doing to get that average ticket up? Because for you to have a $1,500 average ticket, you probably need to have an average of $3,000 going out. Because what I've learned is whatever your highest package is usually about half of whatever your average ticket is. So if you're only sending out $1,000 quotes, your probably average ticket's probably around $500 to $800 because that's where your average ticket will be at. So that's why it's important to be able to get your average ticket up. All right, I know I went a long time today, but I felt like this is something that as I was speaking on Monday night, there was 2 people in that group, maybe more, but 2 that I knew that really needed to speak. And that's why I wanted you to have it too. Because there's nothing, only thing holding you back is you at the end of the day. And you might say, Jason, they're just lucky. I'm going to tell you something. Successful people aren't lucky. They've done the reps to get them done, and just so happens it falls in their lap. You could say, no, they've done the work. They've done the door knocking. They've done what they need to do to make that happen. All right. Do you recommend getting some type of contract written up to have customers sign before the lights installs? I mean, my customer contract is the 50% down payment. And when they give me the 50% down payment, there's some words on there basically say that this is the contract. That's how I do it. Do you recommend them which package to take with or without prices? Or do you just go with the best package based on what you've heard and then tell them to prices? No, I want to give them all the options. I'm going to give them every option. If you're doing it in person, you don't give them no other price. You give them one price, and that's the price of everything. And when they're like, that's just too expensive, and you look at them and you say, too expensive? And you just look at them. So you find out why it's too expensive. So then you drop down. If they don't like that one, then you drop down to the next package. And when they say it's too expensive, you're like, well, I thought you said the other one was too expensive. This one's too expensive too? So you kind of look at them like, what's your problem? And then you drop down. If you're doing it online, it's a little bit different. You're going to just give all 3 packages or quote out each line item. I kept one of the guys from Christmas light season last year, and he's pressure washing with me now. It was 88 degrees, and he said he's already can't wait till Christmas lights. I love Christmas lights. Christmas lights are so fun. Jason, just wanted to sincerely thank you for pointing me toward the ideal of offering service packages. Your suggestions have made a real difference. Not only has it increased my average ticket, but it continues to grow year after year. It's been one of the most practical, sustainable changes I've made in my business. And it was real simple, right? All you did was add packages. And that's what is awesome. Just starting up and great information. When you're new business without any experience, is it worth doing some homes in the beginning for $6 a foot to get experience in marketing? No, it is not. If you want experience, go to christmaslights.io/IPT and you can come to one of my in-person trainings, and that'll get you the experience. And it's going to teach you how to do marketing, and it's going to do that. And the reason why I don't tell you to start out at $8 a foot is because of this. Because you will get into a mindset that that's all you're worth is $8 a foot, and you won't raise your prices. Now, if you want to do some free jobs to get better experience, I'll tell you which jobs are free to do. And it's not probably the one you're thinking. Most people are like, this is a great house to do. No, that's not the house I would do. I'd go into the mom groups, and I would find a mom in that mom group that has 20,000 people in that mom group, and I would do her house for free. I'd reach out to her and say, hey, I will hang Christmas lights on your house for free. Only thing I'm going to ask is you got to post 10 times in your group that, wow, look how beautiful my house is, and blah, 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 did them. That's the only time I would do a free job and do it. Now, I would say the only time, but when I started, and even then, even after, I did my house, I did my brother's house, I did my mom's house, and we did one or two other houses we did for free in the beginning to teach them how to do lights, my employees to do lights. The only other free ones I would do is if there's a kid that has cancer and he's going to die, that's a great one to do because it's his last Christmas. And so if you know somebody that has cancer, that's another great one to do. So those are definitely things that you got to look at and think about for the Christmas lights and how to do it. So because like I said, you start out at $6, you're already not believing that you're worth more than that. You already have it in your mind that you're not worth more than $6 a foot. So that's why I don't even tell you to think about $6 a foot. That's why I tell you to charge $8 to $12 a foot. Now, if you're just starting out, you don't do the $12. You can, or start out at $8 a foot. I mean, I have a guy down in Florida, and I know everybody in Florida is cheap, right? Because anybody that will tell you that, and that's what they believe. He was getting $12, $16 a foot for Christmas lights. He got jobs at $16 a foot for Christmas lights. And so it's all in what you believe and what you can do to make it happen. Luck might show up once or twice, but real success is repeatable. Because it's built on systems, a truly successful person doesn't rely on chance. They study what works, build a structure around it, and refine it over time. That's what creates consistent results, not just occasional wins. Yep, exactly. All right, well, I have one of my trainings will be up on this week. I probably got another one or two that are coming up that I will have up. I should have them. I was supposed to have them up last week. I didn't. I will have more trainings up. Again, if you want to know, ChristmasLights.ipt, that is my in-person training. It'll be 1 day of Christmas lights, 1 day of marketing and sales. And if you want to stay for the last day of permanent lights, you can stay, or you can do permanent lights and Christmas light. It's usually one price for all 3 days. If you don't want Christmas lights, you can come for the last 2 days. If you want Christmas lights, or if you want permanent lights and you want the other one, you can come for that one. But what I will say is I have grown these classes so that you can get the most out of it. You know, the Christmas light side of it, of learning how to do Christmas lights or learning how to do permanent lights, is literally a $15 an hour job. I paid employees $15, $20 an hour, and they were able to install Christmas lights. The marketing is something that you pay $500, $1,000 an hour is what you can make. And I go very in depth in the marketing day, and there's a reason why. And I'm going very in depth on the sales day. The reason why is because I want you to be successful. I want you to leave this class knowing how to sell better. And so I have almost 100 5-star reviews from just people that have taken my class, and you can find out that almost every one of them have come out of there better. One of the guys that has been to all my competitors said this was the best class he's ever been to out of all the competitors. So that was a pretty big thing for me to see that. So it is important that you go and learn how to grow a business and be successful. Also, if you want to join ChristmasLights.io, it's my membership. I have training in there, and all my Monday night lives I always talk about. This past Monday night lives, we talked about LinkedIn. We talked about LinkedIn groups. We talked about LinkedIn articles. I showed you how to write the articles. I showed you how to research for the articles. And so if you want to go check that out, it's in there, ChristmasLights.io. You can go find it in there, plus all my other stuff in there. Every Monday night, we talk about marketing because I feel like that's the most important thing is marketing. Marketing is the most important thing that you can do. Do you know anyone with a retail Christmas light store? With a retail Christmas light store? I do know someone. Eric got one or is building one. So with that, hopefully you all have an amazing week. This week is going, if I know some of you do pressure washing and some of you are doing landscaping, it's finally not snowing and not raining. Well, it is raining right now. Actually, the lightning and thunder is going. But it is definitely getting closer to that season. And so go be great this weekend. That's what I'm going to tell you. Go be great this weekend. Go be awesome and go get that work. And we'll talk at you all later.